Hello, my name is Sin Bagley. Since it is Father's Day today, I decided to read a blog post that I wrote about my father, and it's called Conversations with My Father, and I'll leave the link to it in the bottom of the description. It's been almost 3 years since my father died. He had dementia, possibly Alzheimer's, and when he walked outside during the night, he fell and broke his hip. This was the beginning of the end for him. He was 86 years old. I was his first child. He used to hold me in his forearm, my head cupped in his hand with my butt against the fold in his elbow. I was long and skinny, and he used to say that he knew I would be tall for a girl. He would tell me his philosophies and stories on the long ride to work. We lived 45 minutes away. I didn't agree with many of his ideas, like, for instance, that babies were blank slates with no personalities, and that it was the father's job to impress a personality on the child as part of child rearing. I always contended that each child had a different personality and needed to be raised differently. As his oldest child, I did help raise his children. In our home, though, my mother ruled with an iron fist, and my father ruled the outside. My father thought his daughters would stay with him until he found suitable husbands for them. This 19th century attitude smashed into the time we were living in, the 70s and 80s. None of his girls, and there were 4 of them, ever married a suitable man in his eyes. My late hubby, Otto, was the closest to suitability except for his religion, as he wasn't the same type of Christian as my father. My father was not a bad man. He was a man that was in the middle of a changing world, and many times he was not happy with the world around him. He tried to keep it stable. When he couldn't keep it stable, he did become very angry. I have seen him punch a wall. Better a wall than us. He was a musician. He played the violin from the age of 10. The sad part for him was when he began to get arthritis into his joints. He had to put it down. He had this need to move. We moved upon about every 3 to 4 years to a new area or a new house. If we couldn't move to someplace new, he would disappear for weeks at a time. He used to be a vacuum cleaner salesman, Kirby. He was not good at selling, but was very good at travel. It was so ingrained in his wants that he couldn't settle down. When it came time they couldn't travel, he would take the boys into the mountains, and they would hike for miles. They would spend a week or 2 in the high mountains eating and fishing. I heard about the bears from my brothers. When I hit puberty, my father began to see me turn into a woman. I don't know why it made a difference, but we did not do things together anymore. The things we used to do, hike, fish, cars, became the things he did with my brothers. I was told to become more womanly, watch the kids, make food, clean the house. I hated that he pushed me back under the auspices of my mother. It wasn't until I started working and we would go back and forth from work together that we began to discover each other again. Yes, I was a daddy's girl. I was not there when he died. His mind was so gone that he thought he was back in the Navy with his buddies. He wanted to talk to them. My brother sat with him and talked of those times. He had been the king of the world then. Sadly, I saw him slowly shrink from the tall man I knew into an old, frail man. When we talked on the phone about San Francisco of the 1950s and 60s, he would talk about his favorite places and told me of the people who lived there. I didn't have the heart to tell him that the people were gone or dead. I had seen San Francisco. They had turned that beautiful city of my father's memories into a shithole. We had our hard times as well. When I decided to go into the Navy, my father told me that I would become a slut. We did not talk for years after that. It hurt too much, and I held that tight against my chest for too long. When I did talk to him again, he was losing his mind, one piece at a time. There are a lot of memories, both good and bad, that come up when I think of him. I dreamed of him recently. I think he wanted to tell me that even though we had our rough times, he loved me. I love him too. So, goodbye, Dad, and happy Father's Day.